Peace to everybody. This is about California earthquake rattles. Stay wary of the big one. And of course, was the video for it, but I'm not going to play it. In the bottom of the fourth inning, Dodger Stadium swayed. Rides at Disneyland were evacuated, and so were movie theaters in Los Angeles near Palm Springs. Pools sloshed and chandeliers at a casino rocked, and in the Mojave Desert town of Ridgecrest, California, fires roared, power went out, and grocery store shelves came crashing down. Yeah, so everything was happening in Los Angeles. The Dodger Stadium swayed. Disneyland, the rides was evacuated because of the earthquake. Movie theaters, they had to get everybody out of there. The Palm Springs pools were sloshing back and forth. Chandeliers were rocking back and forth, and at a casino, Mojave Town fires roared, power went out, and grocery store shelves came crashing down. For the second time in 2 days, a powerful earthquake struck Southern California on Friday night, shaking a large area already on edge from Los Angeles to Sacramento to from Las Vegas. I had to go back and correct myself. To Sacramento to Los Angeles to Mexico, rattling nerves and disrupting plans on a holiday weekend. There were no reports of fatalities and no significant damage to infrastructure. But as day broke, rescue crews were still surveying damage in Ridgecrest near the earthquake's epicenter and putting out fires. Yeah, so there was a powerful earthquake, and it could be felt from all the way from Las Vegas to Sacramento to Los Angeles to Mexico, and that's a pretty good sized earthquake that was happening, and it rattled nerves and disrupted plans on a holiday weekend for the 4th of July. There was no significant damage to infrastructure, but I believe there probably is now. Of course, the fire crews, they were still surveying damage in Ridgecrest to see how much damage it was. The 7.1 magnitude earthquake that rattled Southern California on Friday came 1 day after the strongest recorded quake there in 20 years has struck, and seismologists warned that further episodes are expected. Yeah, so there are more earthquakes episodes that are expected, so it's going to be much larger. Who knows how large it will be, but it's going to be a lot worse than what they think. You think because the 7.1 magnitude earthquake rattled Southern California on Friday. It came a day after Thursday's quake. To a large degree, navigating life in California means making peace with Mother Nature. Wildfires and mudslides are yearly events, made worse in recent years amid climate change, but Californians live in constant awareness, if not outright fear, of the possibility of a devastating earthquakes. The big one, as everyone says, and so as people across Southern California woke up Saturday morning grateful for being spared this time. There was the sense that Friday night's Tumblr could have been just as foretaste of something bigger. Officials were urging residents to keep supplies handy: batteries, flashlights, a pair of sneakers if they hadn't already. Today in California, everybody was spared this time, but who knows what could happen the next time after yesterday's earthquake. And of course, people are means making peace with Mother Nature. I don't think Mother Nature is playing very well. Wildfires and mudslides are yearly events, which that's nothing new to them because they've been used to that all their life. And of course, Californians live in constant awareness. Also, always keep supplies, batteries, flashlights, a pair of sneakers. Also, keep first aid kits, keep blankets, anything that you can get your hands on to have first aid, because it's very important that you need it at this time. Don't be paralyzed by fear. Josh Rubinstein, the spokesman for the Los Angeles Police Department, wrote on Twitter, "Arm yourself with knowledge and a plan. Talk about what would you do when a big one hits. I myself just did that with my daughter and my wife." Yeah, so Josh Rubinstein said, don't be paralyzed by fear. So whatever it is you have to do, do it. Don't be scared. Get everything in order. Plan things out. Talk with your neighbors. Talk with your family, friends, anything you can do to help them. The United States Geological Survey reported that the latest earthquake's epicenter was in the Mojave Desert, 11 miles from Ridgecrest, near where a 6.4 magnitude quake had hit about 36 hours earlier. Since Thursday's earthquake, the area had been jolted by a series of rolling aftershocks, including one of a 5.4 magnitude that had roused Californians on Friday mornings. Yeah, so the Mojave Desert, it was 11 miles from Ridgecrest, so that's where the Geological Survey reported the latest earthquake at the epicenter. Also including one of a 5.4 magnitude that had roused Californians on Friday morning, and of course it had hit 36 hours earlier since Thursday's earthquake. And of course, here's the screenshot of the major quake since July 4th. As you can see here, the 4.6, then it was a 6.4, then of course the 5, then the 5.4, and then here's the 7.1, which that is really the largest earthquake that it hit. Hold on, it's going again. Jade Alexander, the manager of the Roadway Inn and Suites in Ridgecrest, about 150 miles northeast of Los Angeles, said in a phone interview following another aftershock on Friday night. She said the aftershocks have been coming every 5 minutes. So yeah, so if the Roadway Inn and Suites in Ridgecrest, they have been feeling the earthquakes too, and they've been coming every 5 minutes. So you know how dangerous that is. Every 5 minutes you get aftershocks, and it's really dangerous to be staying somewhere where you don't want to be at. Just move out of that town. Go somewhere where it's safe. Go to higher hills or something to get away from these earthquakes. Although the area where the earthquake struck is sparsely populated, the Navy has a weapons testing facility, the Naval Air Weapons Station China Lake, just outside Ridgecrest. So yeah, so there's a weapons testing facility, Naval Air, and it's just outside of Ridgecrest. So you know, I'm pretty sure they was feeling it too. So it's pretty bad. It's constant, said Miss Alexander, whose hotel in Ridgecrest is less than a 5-minute drive from the naval station. My anxiety level is over the limit. You know, so Miss Alexander's anxiety level is over the limit because she's scared, you know, and it's very hard to deal with earthquakes. And the hotel in Ridgecrest is less than 5 minutes from that naval station. The floor is cracked, she added, saying that bookshelves, lockers, and televisions had been thrown to the ground. Oh yes, of course you know everything is going to be thrown to the ground, or to the ground, I'm sorry. The TVs have cracked, the floor cracked, the bookshelves have been knocked over, lockers and televisions been thrown everywhere. The quake, which struck at about 8:20 p.m. local time, was felt across a much wider area than Thursday's quake, with reports of power failure in Los Angeles and of some damage in San Bernardino County. It was also felt in Las Vegas, though the Nevada Highway Patrol had received no reports of damage to roads or bridges. So in Las Vegas, Nevada, you could feel it there, but there was nothing damaged there in Las Vegas, Nevada. So everything was okay over there. But Los Angeles, it's very, and there was some damage to that city as well. And of course, San Bernardino County, that's where it's at. And it started about 8:20 p.m. local time there. Mick Gleason, the supervisor of Kern County, which includes Ridgecrest, said that some people had been injured, but that no deaths had been reported. There were at least 2 fires, including one at a mobile home park, he told CNN. One big concern was gas leaks. Kern County Fire Chief David Witt said that it appeared that no buildings had collapsed. So there was no buildings collapsed, but people are concerned about gas leaks. And the gas pipes are underground, and it's very concerned that if gas leaks will start and everything, and nobody likes the smell of gas because it's very dangerous and it could kill people. And of course the Kern County, which includes Ridgecrest, said some people have been injured, but that no deaths have been reported so far, so they're lucky on that one. And of course, here's the picture of the fire truck with the Kern County Fire Department, making sure that at home that was burned down the following earthquake is fully extinguished. So yeah, they had to go through to make sure the fire is extremely out. Lucy Jones, a seismologist, said during a Friday night briefing by the United States Geological Survey that there would be more aftershocks. It is clearly an energetic system, Dr. Jones said. So yeah, it's an energetic system. That's what the earthquakes are, because the fault lines, people that are living on fault lines, so it's gonna keep going. I mean, the earthquakes are right there where people's homes are, and of course they're gonna feel all the earthquakes that they have that's going on there, and it's really dangerous to be living on the fault lines. Lena Panchel, a manager of America's Best Value Inn and Suites, another hotel in Ridgecrest, said people had rushed outside because they had felt unsafe being indoors. Well, I'd be running out the door too, but it's better to be safe than sorry. I'm sorry. And because people were running out because they were afraid the hotel walls were going to crack and everything, and I don't blame them for running out onto outside. It was so bad, she said, on Friday's earthquake and its aftershocks. I am scared. I have 2 children and no one is taking care of us. So this lady has 2 children and nobody is taking care of her. So now the question is, where is her husband? That's what we like to know. If she's by herself. Mrs. Panchel was seated during the earthquake, but said that the shaking had been so violent it would have been impossible to stand up. It was very strong, she said. Standing lamps were thrown to the ground. Yeah, so the lamps were thrown to the ground. Miss Pancho was seated during the earthquake. There was no way she could have got up at all. The electricity was cut during the earthquake, but came back on afterward. Miss Pancho said, at 8:21 p.m. local time, the Los Angeles Fire Department issued an earthquake alert from its Twitter account. Okay, so Miss Pancho was scared because the electricity was cut. Then it came back. Then, of course, the Los Angeles Fire Department had issued an earthquake warning on its Twitter account. Prepare for aftershocks, the tweet said. When shaking starts, drop, cover, hold on. In Los Angeles, fire officials reported localized power failures and downed wires in several cities' neighborhoods, but said that no major damage to infrastructure had been identified. So far, the infrastructure has not been identified at all, so they are pretty much doing what they can, but as the tweet says, drop, cover, hold on, and of course, you know, they have to do what they can to get everybody in order to help these people to help them get prepared for anything. And here's a local store that all the food went to the floor in the aisle. When you see something like this, run for your life. Don't stay there. Don't grab anything. Just drop whatever you got in your hands or whatever and run. Get out of that store. In San Bernardino County, fire officials said that there had been more damage from the Friday night earthquake than from the one the day before. The officials reported that homes had shifted, foundations had cracked, and retaining walls had collapsed. So yeah, walls and foundations and walls had collapsed. Everything is just a mess right now. There have been more damage from the Friday night earthquake. Tom Heaton, an earthquake expert at the California Institute of Technology, said the earthquake Friday night appeared to have taken place northwest of Thursday's earthquake. The rupture was about 10 to 15 miles long, and the duration of the earthquake was around 7 seconds. Friday's earthquake was much larger than Thursday's. The total energy released was about 8 times greater. So Friday's earthquake was much larger than what it was Thursday's. The rupture was about 10 to 15 miles long. So that's a pretty long earthquake of where it took place at. And the earthquake expert at the California Institute of Technology said the earthquake had appeared to have taken place northwest of Thursday's earthquake. So yeah, it shifted pretty much, but it's still having aftershocks. For now, the earthquake appeared to be localized, but for California, one big question is whether these earthquakes occurring in the Mojave Desert will have any consequences for a potentially more catastrophic rupture of the San Andreas Fault, the giant crack in the earth that runs among the entire length of the state near heavily populated areas. So yes, it's being questioned about the earthquake occurring in the Mojave Desert. Will have any consequences? So who knows if it will or not. It's in a heavily populated area. Of course, when you have the San Andreas Fault, the giant crack in the earth, so yeah, it's pretty damaging to where it is. Seismologists say there is a remote connection between the system of faults that caused this week's earthquakes and the San Andreas. The fault near Ridgecrest comes close to a fault known as the Garlock, which ultimately intersects the San Andreas. So yes, it is. That's what it is. It's the faults near Ridgecrest come close to a fault known as the Garlock. Dr. Heaton said it would be pretty far-fetched that an earthquake on the San Andreas would be triggered along this route. But he noted, seismologists are constantly surprised. Yeah, so that's pretty far-fetched. Dr. Heaton is saying that an earthquake on the San Andreas would be triggered along that road, but you never know what can happen. And of course, here's the screenshot of where the earthquakes took place, and of course you can see over here Ridgecrest, where it happened at, and of course down here at the right corner is California. So that's pretty dangerous, and of course all the red is where the earthquake and the aftershocks have taken place at. So I guess it must be the Mojave Desert or somewhere. So it's pretty dangerous that this has happened. And nobody is safe now because more aftershocks are coming, and everybody needs to run for their life. Get out of that area immediately. Do not stay there at all, because it's too scary to be there, and it's not safe to be there. The current sequence of earthquakes could potentially last for years. In the 1970s, seismologists were surprised that an earthquake near Bishop, California began a sequence of earthquakes around Mammoth Lakes that eventually spread over a diameter of more than 150 miles and included a half-dozen earthquakes of more than 6.0 magnitude. Those quakes lasted for about a decade, so that's a pretty long time that it lasted, for 10 years. And of course, it was no surprise that surprised that an earthquake near Bishop, California began a sequence of earthquakes around the Mammoth Lake. So it started there, then of course it spread over a diameter of more than 50 miles. When a significant earthquake is followed by a related and larger quake, as it happened in California in recent days, seismologists refer to the first quake as a foreshock. A foreshock and a main quake usually occur within days or weeks of one another, but occasionally in analyzing seismic activity in a region, scientists will identify foreshocks that occurred months or even years before a major quake. So yeah, so scientists are definitely going to observe this these foreshocks. They're gonna see what they do. They are experts at this. And of course, when a significant earthquake is followed by a related one and larger quake, as it happens in California, so it's pretty bad. Some notable earthquakes have been preceded by foreshocks, including the largest quake ever recorded, a 9.5 magnitude event that struck Chile in 1960. A 7.9 magnitude quake had occurred in the same area the day before. The 2011 Tohoku earthquake in Japan, which triggered the Fukushima nuclear disaster, which proceeded by a foreshock as well. So it happened a long time ago in Chile when they had a struck in 1960 at 7.9 magnitude. So that was a pretty bad one there. And of course, the foreshocks, including the largest quake ever recorded, was a 9.5 magnitude. So that was the largest one. So that's bigger. That's bigger than a 7.9. Aftershocks are also not unusual. In fact, they are common after a large earthquake, although they decline in frequency and magnitude over time. The 9.2 magnitude 1964 Alaska earthquake, the second largest ever recorded, was followed for months by tens of thousands of aftershocks. In the first 3 weeks, there were 20 aftershocks of magnitude 6.0 or higher. So Alaska had their aftershocks as well. And of course, it was a 9.2 magnitude in 1964. Then, of course, tens of thousands of aftershocks followed after that. And that's pretty seriously damaging right there. Everything falls, nothing is standing anymore. Houses are being shook. Places where you want to be at, you can't be there because of all the aftershocks. The 6.4 Ridgecrest foreshock on Thursday was followed by 7 quakes of magnitude 4.5 or higher until the 7.1 magnitude quake Friday, and the Friday quake so far has been followed by 15 quakes of 4.5 magnitude or higher. The largest known earthquake in the area occurred in 1872 and was a magnitude 8, one of the largest in California. So that's a pretty big one right there. It's a 7.1 magnitude quake on Friday, and of course in 1872 there was a magnitude of 8. So that was bigger than the 7.1. And of course it was followed by 15 quakes of 4.5 magnitude or higher in the Ridgecrest area. And of course, here's a screenshot where all the players and staff leaving the court in Las Vegas after the earthquake. And as you know, everybody had to get out. They needed to leave. They didn't want to stay there. So whoever announced it, they said everybody has to leave right now. So that's what they're doing. Friday night's earthquake came during the Dodgers home game against the San Diego Padres in Los Angeles. The game was not interrupted, but in Las Vegas, where an NBA Summer League game was taking place between the New York Knicks and the New Orleans Pelicans, the action was halted because of the quake. So the game was not ever interrupted at all in the San Diego, between the Dodgers and the San Diego Padres, but where the New York Knicks and the New Orleans Pelicans that were playing, they had to halt the game because of the quake, and now all the players had to move, get out of the way and everything. Frank Jackson, the Pelicans point guard, was bringing the ball up court when he felt the earthquake. "That was crazy," Jackson said. "I felt like someone was pushing my hip. I kind of leaned this way and was like, oh my gosh, what is going on? And then I saw everything shaking." Yeah, so Frank Jackson, who plays for the Pelicans, he said that he felt like somebody was pushing his hip because of the earthquake. Tim Dorsey of Santa Monica noticed something was amiss when the wine bottles in his home began rattling on Friday night. That happened, and I thought, oh, aftershock. Mr. Dorsey said by phone, and then it stopped. 15 seconds later, it started going again. I hopped up and got away from my windows. Mr. Dorsey said the shaking had begun again and gone on for a minute. It kept getting stronger and stronger, he said. And so Mr. Dorsey of Santa Monica noticed something was amiss, and of course the bottles were shaking in his home and began rattling. So I guess it must be the wine bottles or something that he had in his home. Mr. Dorsey said by phone, and then it stopped. 15 seconds later, it was going again, but only lasted a minute this time. It kept getting stronger and stronger. He was saying on the phone. Giovanna Gomez of Bakersfield said Friday's earthquake had felt like Thursday's quake. I was in my living room with my parents, and all of a sudden we started feeling the earth slowly moving, Miss Gomez said, and then it started getting bigger, just rocking back and forth. She said the family had promptly gone outside and reported no damage, but complained of dogs barking. Yeah, of course the dogs were barking. Mrs. Gomez says that everything was rocking, and then of course it started getting bigger, just rocking back and forth. And of course, when you're in your home, you're gonna feel something, but when you do, just please go outside, run away from your home, because you don't know if your house is going to blow up or not. Just get away from your home. At the Dodgers game, fans in the upper decks felt the stadium sway, and viewers at home who didn't feel the earthquake themselves were alerted to it by the shaking up and down of the camera on the field, though the game went on. How are they continuing to play baseball? Said Joe Davis, a Dodgers television announcer. Yeah, when the camera's going or going up and down, or shaking up and down the camera, and of course, yeah, how are they still playing if nothing happened there, but the camera was shaking up and down? And of course, at the Dodgers games, fans in the upper decks felt the stadium sway. So it's pretty scary being at a baseball game. Once that earthquake hits you, and it's not a safe place to be. Just go away. Just get away from your house. Get away from places that you normally go. Stay away from store shelves when stuff starts falling down. Just run away. Don't stay where the earthquake is going to keep hitting. Leave your comments below. I am out.